We're now over 5 weeks into a Western-backed Israeli onslaught against Gaza, which has killed many, many thousands of innocent civilians. We don't know how many anymore. It's not possible to count the dead. The last estimate I saw last week, including those dead in the rubble, is upwards of 14,000. Men, women, and indeed thousands of children. Apocalyptic scenes, one of the great crimes of our age. And most of our political and media elite are actively supporting this. That's a fact. Now, this is a truly unforgivable chapter. I, for one, I'm never going to forgive it. And frankly, as Gaza is driven into the abyss, I've just pretty much had enough of this. We've had weeks now of our government and its media allies trying to deflect from the moral obscenity that they are involved in, which is, to repeat, the active support or denial of war crimes. And they do that by trying to smear those opposed to this mass slaughter as the real, dangerous, hateful extremists in an effort to turn the world upside down. The consequences of this deliberate strategy, well, we saw this weekend the whipping up of a far-right mob which stormed the cenotaph and then went round London racially abusing peace protesters. This is the context in which I went on Good Morning Britain today, presented by Susanna Reid, who I greatly respect. I do love going on the show. They're a great team, by the way. So, I don't know, do I feel guilty when it all goes at the end of the day? I have to do my job. Anyway, Susanna Reid and Ed Balls, who's best known for failing to offer an alternative to George Osborne's ruinous slash and burn cuts, ended up losing his seat, then ended up as George Osborne's business partner with an interlude involving some dancing on television. A former trade union leader actually called Ed Balls, well, he said he'd give a headache to an aspirin. Couldn't possibly comment on that. Anyway, here's how he responded to what I had to say.
There were some right-wing headbangers who got to the cenotaph and they behaved incredibly badly, but there were many, many people there chanting vicious anti-Semitic comments, and that shouldn't be allowed. That was probably the biggest anti-Semitic march in Britain in decades.
Owen, you were there.
Yes, I was.
You were there on the march on Saturday. We've seen a number of chants.
Yep.
We've seen banners which are anti-Semitic. Did you see them when you were marching?
No, I was marching, for example, with Jewish activists, and it's a real insult against the thousands of Jewish activists who march with their yarmulkes. For example, organised by Nahmod, by the Black Jewish Alliance, with placards demanding the linking of Palestinian and Jewish liberation. And they were anti-Semitic. I saw them. I saw the anti-Semitic placards afterwards, and not with anyone I marched or anyone I saw there. There were 800,000 people marching, driven by opposition to the mass slaughter of thousands of innocent people, including many thousands of children. And that was a cross-section of Muslims, Christians, Jewish people, and non-believers.
But you think that we should call out violence and racism and extremism on both sides?
Of course, but you can't make an equation. And this is what is dangerous.
No.
No.
I'm giving you the chance to call it out on both sides.
I've just condemned... So there were 10 examples that I've now seen flagged by the Metropolitan Police and British Transport Police.
There are far more.
There were 10 flagged, and I've seen them. 10 examples, completely unacceptable, out of 800,000 people. That's 0.00175%. And I'm sure it's higher, though of course there'll be, on a march of that demonstration, 800,000 people
I think it was
who are inacceptable. There was a difference,
The police say it was 300,000.
There was a difference.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people arrested were the far-right extremists who were whipped up by the government and the Daily Mail. That's what happened. I have to say, being gaslit over this is one of the most astonishing things I've ever seen in my entire life. One of the most astonishing things in my entire life. We have a British government and much of the media backing the mass slaughter of innocent people. We have, at the moment, babies suffocating to death in Israel.
The government
in Gaza.
The mass slaughter of innocent people.
Yes, it is. The government is
saying, do not target civilians.
The government has refused to condemn Israel for war crimes. We have an Israeli government, for example, a minister the other day...
And the Israeli government say they don't set out to kill...
The Israeli government could not be more open in what they're doing. One of their ministers on Saturday said that we are instituting a new Nakba. The Nakba, for those who aren't aware, was the mass expulsion of 700,000 Palestinians in 1948. The reason we're being gaslit here is for weeks...
What does gaslit mean, by the way?
Gaslit means when your understanding of reality is turned upside down. When you know with your own eyes what you can see and you're told it's the opposite.
And you criticise the Israeli government, and that's perfectly legitimate. What people are concerned about is marchers are waving swastikas.
Yeah.
Marchers wearing Hamas-style...
They had the Star of David interlinked with the swastika. Many of them.
This is why I don't
protesters wearing Hamas-style headbands. chants of From the River to the Sea. And in one recording, someone is chanting, and I apologise to Jewish viewers and also to those who will be offended, because it is offensive. A woman recorded saying, I find it hard to say it actually, death to all Jews.
Yeah.
And a man heard shouting, Hitler knew how to deal with these people.
And posters saying Gaza, the new Auschwitz. What a disgraceful thing to say.
To be clear, what you just read out there is a hate crime.
Yes.
It's an anti-Semitic hate crime.
Yeah. And there were a lot of them.
And there were 10 of them. No. 10 flagged. I've gone through every single one.
Yeah.
And every hate crime has been flagged on the social media feeds of the Metropolitan Police and the British Transport Police. There were 800,000 people there.
There were 300,000.
They were Jewish. No, well, even if there were, that's not true. But even if there were, it's a tiny proportion. The difference is we had, just quickly...
A tiny proportion, Owen, of hate crimes
almost
still equals hate crimes.
What we're saying here is 800,000 people should be tarred because of a tiny handful of absolutely unacceptable...
No, we're not saying that.
Yes, we are.
We aren't saying that. We're giving you the opportunity.
I've condemned that.
Hold on. Can I say something? Because, Owen, you've talked a lot. Can I say the other thing?
You could condemn Hamas attacks on Israeli citizens.
Which I've done over and over again.
Owen, you've talked a lot. Can I just say something? This is another march. Hang on, Ed. This is another march where I have not seen any posters condemning Hamas for what they've done in Gaza. None.
OK, but
none.
Let me say,
none.
I actually did see posters condemning Hamas
and
saying release the hostages. So I think we just have to, we have to report this accurately.
NAMOD, for example, who are a Jewish peace organisation, their placards include release the hostages and ceasefire now. They marched on that demonstration.
Yes.
To be clear, as I've said, for the last few weeks, we have had the Daily Mail and the government and other newspapers claiming the cenotaph was going to be defaced and attacked by pro-Palestinian demonstrations. What actually happened was a bunch of far-right lunatics stormed the cenotaph, whipped up a hate mob by Cyrilla Braverman, by the government, and there were the vast majority of arrests. And the difference between that... You keep calling them counter-protests. Stop calling them that. They're far-right extremists. They were there for one reason, hatred, OK? The peace protesters were overwhelmingly there because, funnily enough, most people in this country don't like watching little children having their heads ripped off by missiles. And I am sick to death of a media industry in this country. I know we're supposed to have this chatty format where we're just here to be all pally and talk about the news, but we are now watching
I don't know how often you watch this programme, it doesn't generally
we're watching one of the great...
veer away from arguments about very sensitive issues.
We are watching one of the great massacres of our time, and those who are complicit in that massacre, a government which arms and backs Israel...
And that's the media...
As it is, much of the media is
Keir Starmer as well as...
much of the media in the political establishment...
Keir Starmer?
Yes, absolutely.
Keir Starmer is complicit in a massacre.
Keir Starmer...
Is it a genocide?
Keir Starmer... Look, many...
I'm asking you.
Many genocidal experts and scholars have said it is. Many UN officials have said it is. That's not for me to adjudicate.
Keir Starmer is complicit in a genocide.
No, you're trying to put words into my mouth.
I'm asking you questions.
What Keir Starmer did is went on national radio and said that he said that Israel had the right to cut off water and energy. We are seeing now the consequences of what cutting off energy is. It's premature babies gasping for breath, their first hours on Earth, dying amongst the killing field of thousands of people, the dead bodies of Gaza being eaten by the starving dogs. This is an apocalyptic scene. I know you're cringing. I don't like talking about the horrors of war either. It's being sanitised so people aren't aware of what's actually happening to innocent people.
Why is it wrong to cringe at the horror that's happening?
Yeah, but I know, because it looks like I'm breaking some sort of etiquette where we don't talk in the early morning about what war actually is.
Kevin and I have argued about this every day.
Sorry, Owen, this is the definition of gaslighting.
Yeah.
We are literally talking about the horror of war and facing up to it.
You clearly don't watch it.
Right.
We have been showing pictures of Gazan children for the last 3 weeks.
It feels...
And, don't come on and accuse us of things which are untrue. I mean, the gaslighter extreme... Owen Jones appears on GMP.
I know. I'm used to being interrogated. I'm a cabinet minister, even though I'm just a journalist at The Guardian, trying to make the point that there are serious war crimes, collective punishment, as the UN Secretary-General has said. The bombing of hospitals, 3 nurses yesterday killed by the Israeli attacks. A hospital surrounded with no energy, whilst in northern Gaza, there has been the obliteration, more than 2 Hiroshima bombs worth of bombs dropped on an area the size of East
that we are complicit in that.
I'm saying most of the media...
Are you saying we are?
Ed, what is this? I'm not talking about you.
You were talking about this programme.
I'm talking about the media.
About Good Morning Britain.
I'm talking about the media in this country.
The media?
Being
we are part of the media.
Yes, you're right. Most of the media...
So you are talking about...
I'm talking about most newspapers in this country have openly supported...
If you're going to answer questions, Owen, you have to actually answer them.
Ed, what is this?
Answer the
what is this bizarre game you're trying to play here?
I'm not playing a game.
Most newspapers in this country
you made an accusation, and I'm asking you whether you're
supporting what Israel is doing.
The entire political establishment is too. The entire political establishment is supporting
they are whitewashing what Israel has done. That's the fact.
The Labour Party you support, Keir Starmer is not supporting a ceasefire because he does not believe that Hamas are committed to it.
Not supporting a ceasefire means the continuation of thousands of innocent people being brutally murdered, and most people won't die because of the missiles. They'll die because the healthcare system's collapsing. Pregnant women giving birth without medicines, children having their limbs amputated without anaesthetic.
Yeah, it's horrific.
This is what the war that most newspapers and most politicians support in this country means. That's what it means.
The Prime Minister... statement on Saturday. I condemn the violent, wholly unacceptable scenes we have seen today from the EDL, that's the English Defence League, and associated groups, and Hamas sympathisers attending the National March for Palestine. The despicable actions of a minority of people undermine those who have chosen to express their views peacefully. I mean, that sounds exactly like the statement you've just made.
No, Rishi Sunak, he douses the petrol and he lights the match and then complains about the fire. He demonised, like much of the political establishment, those people in this country who don't like watching innocent people being slaughtered en masse. He demonised them as terrorist supporters and anti-Semites, and in doing so, he encouraged...
they're a minority.
But he encouraged far-right protesters who, funny enough, think exactly the same thing about Palestinian demonstrators.
And a huge number of arrests
who went round London racially abusing Palestinian supporters, including, for example, the mother of one of my friends.
We do not want racial abuse of anybody.
There was racism on both sides.
Yeah.
Hold on.
There was racism
Hold on. The difference between the far-right protest is that was organised based on hate, and a large proportion of them were arrested on that basis.
And the anti-Semitism isn't based on hate.
That anti-Semitism is based on hate, but that's not why the vast majority of protesters were there. And the difference is Palestinian protesters were directly racially abused. You can see it on camera, the clips of people who went on that demonstration,
and Jews were,
coked up,
Jewish
drunk, far-right
were
extremists.
Subjected to hate
speech. But there were Jewish people, thousands on that protest, and they were not.
There was a synagogue. A synagogue was attacked. A synagogue was attacked.
We have to
say the thing which is totally weird about Owen Jones' performance here is he's absolutely taking all the heat off Suella Braverman. I mean, the truth is, she did say unacceptable things, which Rishi Sunak is not wanting to repeat. Nor was Grant Shapps yesterday. It wasn't the whole political media establishment, it was the Home Secretary. And Andrew, kind of ignoring Owen for a moment, don't you think actually Suella Braverman still has got serious questions?
I've said from the beginning I would not call it a hate march. I've always said that. I would not call it, but there were people, and we saw it again on Saturday, who were filled with hatred, and that is regrettable. And I still think it would have been better if the organisers had called it off.
But can she credibly do the job now?
There's no... I hear that there could be a reshuffle today. There'll be no reshuffle
Would you
before...
move her?
I suspect she will be moved, yeah.
But would you move her?
It's a very difficult job. I'm not sure who'd want that job. She's going to be kept in that job until we get the result of the Rwanda scheme.
Just on the point about Suella Braverman, I'll ignore Ed's rudeness there, but in terms of Suella Braverman, the reason...
it sounds like you're both going to ignore each other. Owen, go ahead.
I was saying you were letting her off the hook.
I didn't say that's the ignoring Owen bit. Let me just respond then, if that's all right. Suella Braverman is the most egregious example. She is somebody who herself engages in hateful rhetoric about migrants and refugees, then has the temerity to announce a hate march she helped whip up, had an instrumental role in that. The point I'm making is...
But we're all part of that, aren't we?
The point I'm making is she's not going to be the foreperson when so much of the government, including Rishi Sunak and the media, have whipped up a storm about those protesting against the mass slaughter of innocent people.
Okay.
Yes, she has to go, but the book does not just... it's not just her responsibility.
But don't you see, Owen, that if you say it's all the political media establishment, including Keir Starmer as well as Rishi Sunak, you let Suella Braverman off the hook?
Did Keir Starmer call for water and electricity, did he say Israel had the right to cut it off to a civilian population?
Okay.
Yes or no is a question, Ed.
I-
Yes or no? Did he, yes or no,
I think he's
say Israel
clarified
had
it.
the right to cut off water and electricity?
He said Israel has a right to defend itself.
As you
No,
know-
he didn't say that. He said he was asked, do they have
As
the right
you
to
know,
cut off
Owen,
electricity
I
and
did a
water? He said
podcast
yes.
3 weeks ago which called him out and criticised
I don't
him for
listen
that.
to your podcast, Ed.
Okay.
Well done. It's called political currency, and you should, because you're listening.
I don't want to watch you giggling with George Osborne about the architect
po-
of austerity. I don't want to do that.
The point is,
better things
Owen,
to do with my life.
The thing I'm saying to you, look, I've got to put up with having to talk to you this morning.
I mean, yeah, we're all suffering, Ed.
They've ignored me.
There's no love lost
suffering.
here at
If
all.
you say it is Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak and the whole media establishment, including me and Susanna, then you let
I didn't
the
blame
Home Secretary off the hook.
I didn't make it. I didn't
You
talk
did.
about you two. I said
You
I'm in the
did.
media too. So what? How would that make
can't
it?
Went on about you
I said
about the cosy loving that goes
I
on.
said
here.
ridiculous words like the
I-
media establishment.
Cozy
I said the
loving, I
vast
think you
majority
called
of the
it.
media is supporting what Israel is doing and
Can we-
refusing to call out war crimes. That's a
Shall-
fact. If
can
you don't
we-
like it, it's a fact.
Yeah, can we put some of these points to the Shadow Health Secretary, Wiz Streeting, who is waiting very
So
patiently?
intellectually second rate.
You're just so childish.
There's-
Grow
can we
up.
not-
grow
guys,
up and
can
be?
we not have
You're
a-
just not professional. You're acting in an unprofessional way. You should grow up.
Well, there you go. I am going to say this. I was talking about some of the most unimaginable horrors, unimaginable possible horrors, beyond actually our imagination. I don't quite understand why Ed Balls thought it was appropriate to smirk through all of that, no matter what he happens to think about me. We're all entitled to have our personal grudges, but of all the subject matters, I do think it's instructive to compare how Ed Balls deals with, say, George Osborne, whose policies caused misery to millions of people and destabilised British politics. The answer is he does a chummy podcast with him, and how he deals with a socialist objecting to war crimes against kids. Now, on the complicity of the political and media establishment in all this, I wasn't talking about Ed Balls. He wanted to make it about himself, but since he brought it up, let's listen to Ed Balls on this aforementioned very chummy podcast.
Keir Starmer's not even got to government yet. It's too early for decay. He needs unity, and he will want every shadow cabinet member to absolutely toe that line. So I think if a shadow cabinet member now steps outside the ceasefire line, in my view, very hard for his authority to be maintained unless they then leave the shadow cabinet.
Okay, so he wants Labour to fight anyone who supports the ceasefire. That is an end to Israel's current mass slaughter in Gaza. Don't really think anything more needs to be added there. But look, seriously, I know there's supposed to be this code of etiquette to be observed when doing this sort of broadcast. I have been doing this now for 12 years. It is my view that history will be so damning about those who refuse to speak out about what is a massacre, whose final death toll and human cost is, and I don't want to say this, but it's true, is going to be bleaker than opponents of all of this can possibly imagine. That's the truth. Now, stating the humanity of the Palestinian people as they are massacred, because that's what's been robbed of them, that's what makes this horror possible, that is more important than this etiquette. And I will carry on trying to do this as best I can for as long as I'm not kicked off our TV screens. Anyway, please like and subscribe. Do share this video if you agree. You can keep the show on the road as ever on patreon.com/ownjones84. I'll speak to you in a bit.